everybody. I am live from headquarters. I am so excited. You've seen my face a lot today, and I hope that, it's always smiling. And I'm just always so excited when I get a chance to talk to everybody and anybody who will listen about the Teach Me ADHD course. I just love this program. And, I have to say it. It is the only course that I know of that's designed for kids and parents to take together. And it's ideal for kids right when they first get the diagnosis of ADHD, or for families who are needing kind of a retool because they're struggling and they just need a jump start to just reconnect and, just kind of get back on the right foot. So I'm here today to talk with you about family communication, especially in the setting of ADHD, and why it's important and why this is an integral part of the Teach Me ADHD program. But to help me, I brought my fabulous, amazing friend, Lafaya Mitchell, who I had the honor of, meeting for the first time last year. And, it's like one of those friendships that like just boom, we connected. And I have to tell you, she is one of the amazing guest coaches that come into the Teach Me ADHD community, not just once, not just twice, but she has said, I'm coming in 4 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like the way she does her teaching and what she believes in, as soon as I let her talk here, you are going to get why I am so excited to have folks like her in the community to help lift up everybody else. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Lafaya, and then we'll just keep going.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Lafaya Mitchell. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and good friend to Miss Dr. Narissa, who I love very much. It has been in the 20 years that I've been doing the work that I've been doing with children who are, considered what I call hypersensitive. But these are children who are, who are diagnosed with ADHD, on the autism spectrum, traumas, and that kind of thing. In all the years that I've been doing this, I have been searching for a person just like Dr. Narissa, a doctor who, like, first of all, knows her stuff, right, and is invested in addressing that mental health, that behavioral health side. So I'm so impressed by what it is she's doing. I'm so happy to be able to collaborate with her in any way I possibly can, because I want to contribute to the care that she's offering out there to all of our families, and I have to say to our ADHD families, because like I said, the ADHDers are close to my heart, because that's like my life. My daughter is my son.
Oh, so, I just wanted to talk about, because first of all, we know that when kids get diagnosed with ADHD, I wanted us to sort of figure out a way to help kids understand what ADHD is and what it isn't. And I oftentimes, obviously, I've made the diagnosis before, and I know that families either seek, confirmation from their pediatrician, a specialist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. And I think about how kids might feel when they hear, yes, she has ADHD. And I really want that moment to be a positive moment. And sure, I know that like parents can feel a whole host of emotions, whether it be like overwhelm, relief, uh, guilt, whatever, right? I mean, whatever emotion you have in the moment is okay. We have to process. But I don't want to neglect the emotions that our kids feel in that moment. We have to invite them in. And I think about even the little ones who like might hear, oh, he has ADHD. Like, oh my gosh, like what is that? I'm going to get better? Is it something I did? Like, if they don't have the facts, their mind could go all over the place. And if we don't stop to invite them into the discussion, it can sort of spiral and lead to outbursts, lead to shutting down, lead to believing that they're a bad kid, because all of a sudden now they're going to see doctors and therapists and all these different things. And that's not what we want for our kids.
No, no.
No.
I'm
Um,
super. I'm
please,
super.
yes.
I have to say, I'm super excited about your Teach Me ADHD program because you are feeling there's a huge gap, right, between them, the parents actually receiving a diagnosis, and then maybe, hopefully, right, stumbling their way into a program or something that can really help them understand ADHD better, but also for their kids to understand ADHD better. What you
Yes.
do is you offer up to parents kind of a way to communicate this to their children, and you're communicating it to the children in like kid friendly ways, right? So you're taking something that was before, and I've seen this and it just kills me every time I see it. Well, unfortunately, my son or daughter was diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm like, it's not a misfortune.
Yes,
you know
yes. Say that again. It's not a misfortune. I mean, ADHD, what I say is ADHD is not a disability, it is a super ability. We just need to learn how to like work with our brains and harness it and thrive. We can. I mean, there are so many people who have ADHD, so many famous people. Not that
Yes,
you need to necessarily like, not all kids want to be famous, but like there are people doing amazing things.
yes.
And I want them to know that no matter how they're feeling in the moment, it, we shouldn't let ADHD stop them.
Yes. Yes. I think that's awesome. I just, like I said, it's exciting to know that parents have access, and not enough parents have access though. Because everybody out there, if you're listening to this, if you know anybody who you think might, you know, need an ADHD diagnosis, or maybe they may not even need the diagnosis as much as they need the education on how to communicate properly how it is that you should function according to whatever your challenges are, right? And
Yes.
sometimes, and it's tough because so we can take some of these things, and now we don't have to perceive them. We don't have to see them as challenges. Now we can see them as, okay, well, honestly, this is an area that I need to work on. If I enhance here, with the excessive energy, for example, if I learn how to channel that in the proper direction, uh, that could do huge things for me, right? And
Yes.
learning how to think of it in ways like that, and searching for kind of becoming that detective, right? Searching for those positive ways to express, like Dr. Narissa teaches in her
Hmm.
Teach Me ADHD program. Then all of a sudden, it turns it into that superpower. I've actually also seen parents who they get frustrated with people like us who talk about whatever your situation is when you're a neurodiverse individual, how that is a superpower. Some people are like, oh, that's not a superpower, and I hate hearing people say that, almost because they just they believe the hype, like they fall into that way of thinking where this is a very negative thing, as
Mm.
opposed to being able to embrace it as the positive thing that it can be.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the way in which you know a lot of the concepts are broken down, as you said. It's a class really recommended for kids 8 to 12. Some, mature 7-year-olds have taken it and have done well. But it's a class that these kids take with their parent. So we're all in a Zoom room with up to 11 other families. And the cool thing that I see, Lafaya, if I may, is that first of all, I just love meeting all the families and they're so cool. And, but I love giving families the chance to see and meet other families just like them. I mean, it's so important just for parents, but so much more for kids because kids don't go up to each other and say, "Hey, I've got ADHD. Do you?" Like, no, nobody does that, right? But there are so many thoughts and feelings around ADHD, especially if they've gotten into trouble a lot or they forget things or they just they're not performing the way they want and they get a lot of reminders, they get called out in class or they have meltdowns, they don't know how to control those emotions, right? They're hearing feedback like, why are you doing this, why can't you stop that, why can't you sit still? All of that builds up and these kids start believing it. and
Yeah.
and really it's all about helping them understand, first of all, ADHD is a brain-based condition. And that's why we adopt a detective theme, because I want kids and parents to just look for the facts, look for the clues without judgment, without shame. We're going to explore different areas of ADHD over the 8 weeks. and come to understand what it is, what it isn't, and what you need to do to put systems in place to practice those deeds, to get those in your brain, to really practice and make those a habit. But together, when kids and parents learn this, they then begin to know they have a common language. They're like, okay, let's do it. We learned about this. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna do it this way. I'm gonna have activities and family missions for them to complete. And it's just beautiful to see the change from week 1 to week 8. I
Mhm.
just, it's so amazing to me because they learn how to talk together. They learn how to stop and pause and to show each other those strengths. They learn how to work together as a team. They learn how to ask those questions. And more importantly, they learn to lean on each other.
Yes, yes. So what you're doing is, of course, and the reason that I love what you do is you're creating an avenue. You're building a bridge to that
Yeah.
relationship that they deserve to have, with each other, right?
Hmm.
And you're placing them now in a solution focused space as opposed to a problem focused space, right?
Yes.
Because most of us, by default, we enter into the problem focused place because we don't have a true understanding of what's going on. So then all we have is there's this problem here, right? And if all you have is a problem with no understanding, you can't get to the solution. You're giving them a direct pathway to being solution focused.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, I mean, it just sort of makes it easy for families because again, this is something they can take from home. And they get a supply box with everything they need week to week. And, I mean, they don't have to think about it. They just have to like carve out the 60 minutes every week to do the class. And then, the few minutes or, time a little bit every day to just practice the deed because that's what it comes down to. When you're learning something new, you've got to practice. It's not something that just like miraculously you learn, you do once and it's done. No, no.
Yes. Now people have to and keep in mind that we're going to practice something either
Yeah.
way. Okay.
Yeah.
So by default, we practice doing it the wrong way when we're
Oh,
without the knowledge that we need. But when we get the knowledge that we need, then all of a sudden we can practice it the right way. And for overwhelmed parents out there, as you were speaking, I was like, oh my goodness, so many parents out there feeling overwhelmed and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have time to engage with this. But you are so this is what you have to, how you have to see it. I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have time not to engage in this. Because what ends up happening is you waste hours and hours and hours out of your lives, right? In the problem. If you learn the proper solutions, this saves you spend that 1 hour per week, right, in learning the materials that you need to and then putting them to practice. We're going to practice like something anyway, right?
hmm.
That 1 hour per week, you're saving yourself hours every day of extra just disagreement, arguing, fighting about things that you disagree about. It saves you so much time in the long run. You have to invest that initial little bit of time for 8 weeks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and for those of you who have been watching this whole week, as you know, I've brought on past families who've come on. So if you haven't seen the interviews with Senior Detective Hart, Senior Detective Tweety Bird so far, you've got to tune in. It's all on my YouTube channel. I know these families
Okay.
come up with awesome code names. I mean, um, and it's just so. I mean, I think the things that I've heard all week from these families is I didn't know how much this course would change our relationship and allow us the space and give us the skills to like try again to connect with each other, but in a different way. And then Senior Detective Tweety Bird last night said, I didn't realize it was that easy, like to do that. I mean, she was talking about in mission 3 in emotion without commotion. We have parents sort of share a time when they felt angry, frustrated, overwhelmed. So they share kind of the story, they share the thought, the feeling, where they felt it, so that kids can kind of understand and tease apart the thought from the feeling and then the body reaction. And
Yes.
then they turn it to the kids to sort of try. that same thing. And she said by the end of her sharing, her son was asking all these questions. And then when he had to do it, she was asking questions, and then they were crying at the end of it, because she said it was the first time that she had sat down to really talk to him about that and to actually open up about her own feelings, right? And to show him that I feel that way too sometimes.
Yes. Yes. See, oh man, it creates just such a way to connect. There's no better way of connecting than to gain a true, and I can't say this word enough, understanding of what's really going on, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't that you couldn't relate well to your child. It was that there was a something missing, information missing, so that you can do that effectively, right? So
Yeah.
you can be successful with it.
Yeah. And I will say the course is 8 weeks, so 2 months, right? 8 hours of like class time. And parents oftentimes worry like, "Oh my gosh, what if we can't make it one week?" Well, you can always jump on another live class because I often offer it more than once in a week. And if you can't do that, I have a video supplement of all pre-recorded content. So again, you can review, you can catch up, you can just stay on top of it. But then we know, and I tell the kids, the junior detectives, this, how many days it takes to make something a habit. And we learn that. I'm not going to tell you right now because you've got to take the course to know. But the kids know this. And so it's more than 2 months. And that's why when you purchase the course, you get 6 months of ongoing support. Now, you get the toolbox of strategies to connect and set you guys up for success. But we know that life is messy. Kids get older. Maybe for some, puberty happens. I mean, school year, every school year gets harder. And so that's why I think it's really important to have this community of families who are enrolled currently, past detectives who've gone through. And then I bring in amazing coaches like Lafaya into the community who come in and, I mean, in what other program do you have like a doctor, a licensed family marriage therapist, a psychologist, dietitian, like those types of people coming in twice a month, maybe more, to help support families about anything related to parenting a kid with ADHD. I mean, right?
Can't find it.
Yeah. And I know I'm so excited for my current families that are in the community because once they hear you, Lafaya, and believe me, you are just as passionate about what you do and how you teach it. I mean, I've listened to you talk several times now, and I have always like left like, oh my gosh, yes, yes. I'm like always so pumped up and I'm like, yeah, like you just get everybody engaged. And I'm just so excited for the families in the community to be able to learn with you and from you and get that expertise. So 4 times this year, you're coming in. Come on. I know. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, what your program is, so that way people are like, "Oh my gosh, like I need in."
Okay, guys. So now I love what Dr. Narissa and I do because we really do complement what the other does extremely well. And what
Mhm,
I do is I provide also parent support, but just it's in a slightly different way, right? So she's helping out, she's helping you guys to really kind of gain that understanding that you need to create the relationship that you need to in order to have more success with your
mhm,
child. And what I do is I kind of take the reins on taking that, to, in another direction where we're able to take the relationships that you're building and now create a better you to bring to the situation. So now you are
mm,
learning how to, as a parent, how to present so that you're bringing the best out of your child. So I'm working from angles where I teach about things like emotion soaking, where that unintentional sponging of the feeling energies that the children do. So I'm taking you into that, it's another space, right, of understanding that will create an even, where you're having deep, rich relations, but now you're able to present, a better you when doing that. right?
Yeah,
And so that's more, I'm from that angle. I absolutely love what she does, and I'm super stoked. I'm excited to take
me
it,
too.
to take where we're able to work to, where we're able to kind of work, collaborate, work together. I'm working with her community, she's working with mine, right?
It's
And we're able
synergy.
to really fill in because there's so many gaps, in the
Mhm.
care, and not enough people working, collaborating together. But we're putting in this collaborative effort to make sure that our families won't miss a beat,
Yep.
right?
It's gonna be amazing. I'm like so excited. I'm so excited by this, this partnership that we have, and and you trusting your care of your community with me too. I just, it's just phenomenal, and I have to thank you, like on video live, just how rewarding it is for me to find someone who is just as passionate about this work. I mean,
It's exciting to find
it
other
is super
fellow
exciting.
passionates.
It is. And I think when we work with families together, like they feel it. They're like, okay, come on, keep going. Let's do it. I mean, because sometimes it's hard to face those things. I mean, it maybe, just before we end, I do want to say, ADHD is highly heritable. So it's quite likely that one or both parents have ADHD. I've seen it go both ways, like where the child is diagnosed first, and then as parents learn more about it, they're like, oh, maybe I have a little bit of that. And and then they get diagnosed, right? But in the end, that's kind of cool because then you have learned a connection point. Like we share this in common, and we just learned about this amazing thing called our brains and how it works and why we act the way we do, but there are things that we can do to help us be the best versions of ourselves. And yes, we are still going to have arguments. Yes, we are going to have challenges, but at least we know some tools. We know how to connect with each other. We know how to ask for help of each other. We know how to lean into each other and grow together, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what I love about what you do is, oftentimes parents with ADHD um, have this also the emotion regulation piece that they're working on, as well as some of the other challenges that our kids have, right? And, you know, I, I think especially the communication piece for me is really at the heart of this. If I can help families just know how to even begin that conversation so it changes the dynamic instead of being stuck in this negative loop, because unfortunately it's not the kids that are going to change first. I mean, I remind parents this, like, it's got to be us. And what you do, Lafayette, especially for the kiddos who have like the high intensity um, challenging behavior, you have a program, you have a way of helping families still remain calm, cool, collected, like know how to handle this. It's going to take practice, just like our kids have to practice, but you have a really great way of sharing that knowledge, and it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, some people have called it like, meltdown prevention, because I'm
Mm,
trying to get, we're trying to get to a place and space where you don't have that chaos and turmoil in your home anymore, right? So now you're creating the relationship, but now you're also, now you're kind of dealing with a whole other set, situations where we're no longer walking around on eggshells, understanding better the 0 to 60 anger piece, and all that, and working through so that now you actually have a tangible way to deal with
yeah.
some of those behaviors that seem so difficult, that most times are based around sensory, a lot of sensory issues.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think too, again, knowledge is power. When kids and parents learn what ADHD actually is, and that, it's not something that kids are doing to manipulate you.
That word.
Uh, right? I mean, it's really, you can kind of go at it from a different angle. One of
Yes.
understanding, one of like curiosity, one of realizing, okay, all right, this behavior is a signal. Like my child is struggling and I just need to like pause, and I know I can do it a different way,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I know that I can respond in a different way. With a different understanding, I can respond in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Decrease personalization, right? I have to throw a few things out there. Decreasing personalization helps you out immensely with your own emotional regulation, which has to be considered a factor when you're dealing with your
Mhm.
kids, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, there's so many different little pieces that if you just learn, just making slight adjustments, you aren't missing it. No parent is missing it by a mile. It's these slight adjustments and pieces, points of understanding, and ways to communicate that you need in order to have the success that you envisioned for your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm just so excited for all the families that are in the agency already and those that are going to be signing up because, again, this is going to be so good. So good. So, Lafaya, other than signing up to be in my class and be in this amazing community and they get to see you 4 times a year, where can people find you if they're like, wow, like she's got it. Like I need to just like learn more about you and you have books and all of these resources. So please share that information.
Okay. So I know that a lot of resources that I have can truly supplement what it is that you'll get initially from Dr. Narissa. I have
Mhm.
a YouTube channel, lots of parent education, and especially dealing with some of those, the emotional dysregulation and the behavioral issues and all that, giving lots on that on parental burnout, what to do, how to avoid that, how to get through that, get to the
Mhm.
other side of that. Lots on self-care and all that kind of stuff. So you can go to youtube.com/Lafaya Way. You can also go to lafayaway.com to find everything, all of my resources anyway. And I also offer a Facebook community, but I feel like, and it's like a different side of it. So you're kind of hearing from
Mhm.
parents who are having a lot of behavioral struggles from their kids and stuff like that, right? So you
Mhm.
get support for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you look on lafayaway.com, you'll be able to find everything. And I have my PEP program, of course, Parents Empowering Parents. Same idea, by the way, because by the time you're done with Dr. Narissa's program, you will see the value, first of all, in, kind of coming together and doing a class for parents,
Mhm.
right? Where
Yeah.
you're able to normalize some of your experiences, hear from other parents, and you guys, and we all support one another, right? Because we all
Yes.
understand what's going on with each other.
Yeah, and I my last point is that the American Academy of Pediatrics recognizes that ADHD is a chronic condition. And to really deliver high quality care, a care plan has to have like 5 components. One is medication. And I know that one's a little bit harder to initiate with when they're kiddos, but again, we talk through all of that and why, just so that way kids understand that it may be coming sometime at some point. So I want them to at least have a basic understanding of why a doctor would even suggest that.
Yes.
um, Behavioral therapy, parenting support, right? Um, Educational accommodation, so working with school, and then self care strategies, making sure individuals with ADHD get enough sleep, get physical activity, and are fueling their brain, not just their bodies, right? So these are some of the elements that we always have to look at. And so what Lafaya is offering is part of this essential care plan. And the good news is, just like my class, it's virtual. So you can access it anytime. I mean, I have to say, like, the one good thing about COVID has been the birth of online learning and
I agree.
these programs like this because it's accessible now, right? Whereas before you're like, oh my gosh, who can I go to? Where do I go? It's like a scheduling nightmare. But, it's great. You just got to prioritize it. And, I don't think you could put a price on what it would cost to have a good, solid relationship with your child, to see your child have some good self-esteem and feel good about themselves and to own their ADHD and not like be, embarrassed by it. And then for parents to feel good about themselves, I mean,
Mhm.
sure, parenting gets hard, but you know that you're doing the best you can because in the end, that's what we're all doing. Even
Yeah,
kids, even at the time of struggle, I firmly believe kids want to do their best. They just don't have the skills.
always. Very important for parents to grow an understanding of that. And just keep in mind, and I love that there is no price you can place on peace in your home,
Yes.
in establishing what you truly want in your home. No price.
Hmm. Yeah. And once you're a part of the community, you're part of the family. So, I like to think it's like this amazing family community, and it is. And again, get to be surrounded in, from friends and coaches like Lafaya. It is amazing. So I do want to tell you that tonight is the last day for a 10% discount. Now, I know we just said there's no price that you could put on that, but I know sometimes we sweeten the deal by saying, okay, here you can get your top secret code. If you're not already getting my newsletters, just DM me, send me a message. I will send you the top secret code, but it ends tonight. So it has to be applied at checkout. But agency doors are still open until Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. I have 2 class times this go around. Classes start March 20th. It is 8 weeks in length. However, I have actually scheduled it 9 weeks because of spring break. I know that some people might be like, oh my gosh, well, we're going to go on vacation. What if we miss? Well, I will poll all the families who register. When is your spring break? So we have some wiggle room for me to repeat some course times and things like that. So I've got you covered. Don't worry. Plus, I've got that video supplement if you just can't make it work. So don't worry about that. Just worry about like signing up because you are going to miss it if you don't. And you're going to miss out on this amazing community and this amazing way of learning how to thrive with ADHD. So,
Yes.
yay! So, Lafaya, thank you again. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Your energy,
Always
amazing.
my pleasure. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So again, join, join, join. We want to support you and your family to be the best version of yourselves. Okay. All right. That's it for now. Yay.